I'm going to tell you something that will horrify you. Monday, I had 5 king size candy bars.
5 in one day. But 3 months ago, when we started all this, 354 pounds, 354.6 to be exact. Wow. That's a heck of a starting point, huh? And then a month later, 4 weeks later, 341.1. The 350s were done. Entering the 340s were almost done by that point. 1 month later, 341.1. A month after that, exactly 4 weeks later, 334.2. 350s, 340s, 330s. So it has been exactly 1 month since 334.2, 4 weeks ago. And I'm looking at the number because I know what it is, because you sent it to me this morning. And I saw the trajectory and I was asking myself, is he going to do it? Is he going to enter the 320s, exit the 330s he's going to be in the 330s for the very last time, which would have been a week ago at 330 even. Is he going to do it? Can he do it? Is it possible for him to enter the 320s, to go from 350 to 340 to 330 to 320? And he did it. 328.3, 1.7 pounds lighter than he was the week before. I mean, I don't even know what's gotten into you. I don't know how to explain it. I've known you for 30 years, so I know what you're capable of. And usually you're capable of the complete opposite of what we've experienced over the past 3 months. So I'm just looking at that number with joy and glee, and I cannot even put into words how happy I am to have seen the trajectory of weight loss every single week for the past 3 months, which is unprecedented. And we're talking from 350 for the 354.6, from the 350s to the 340s to the 330s to the 320s, 328.3 this morning. I want to know if you feel as good as I do about this. I want to know because I realized that being in the 320s was a milestone for you. Just knowing that we've talked about this in prior episodes, the 320s, getting into the 320s was going to change everything. That was when it's going to start feeling like you've finally gotten into territory that you haven't been into in a very long time, years, a decade. That you haven't touched the 320s, and it's been 340s, 350s, touching the 330s in the past, but nowhere near the 320s. And now you're there, and you're solidly there. And 3 months of consistency has led you to losing a total of 26.3 pounds. 26.3 pounds gone from your physique. So I want to know how you feel. Tell me what happened when you stepped on that scale this morning and you saw that number and you were finally out of the 330s and the 340s and the 350s and into the 320s for the first time in a decade.
This was the best I felt by far. Yeah. I'm so excited, man. Just more motivated than ever. I'm rejuvenated, more excited to just keep going after it, Just it's kind of a breath of fresh air. Just makes me want to do more and more.
I know that you're, stepping on, knowing that you were 330 last week. It was more than likely going to be there, but you never know. You never know. I want to know, how did this week go in terms of what you were doing? Did you step on that scale confidently, knowing that it was going to be in the 320s? Did you do what you needed to do to get there, or was this an ordinary week where, if you lost a pound, you'd be happy, and that would have gotten you into the 320s? How was it? What kind of week, when you compare this to the other 11 weeks of this diet, how would it compare in terms of strictness and consistency and any deviations from what it is that you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, there was definitely deviations early in the week. the weekend and early in the week again, stress related, work stress in particular. But that was even uncharacteristic. So that was a cause for concern. I didn't go like all the way off the handle or anything. It was still even when I guess everything's just on a modified scale, man. Like even when I'm goofing around, I'm still doing it with the right mindset, and so I'm never just completely losing my mind, and I'm always conscious, and it's not like a bad thing, like I'm guilty, but it's just I'm I'm aware, and so and I'm satisfied with less too. That's a big thing. Like I don't need as much food as I used to be satisfied, and like my eating habits have changed a little bit. That doesn't mean like I can't uh do silly things, and have a crazy amount of capacity in a short period of time if I wanted to rise to a challenge, say. But in general, like my habits are improving where like I don't rush quite as much, or um I don't need to eat as much to just be satisfied. And so like even like if I'm gonna enjoy something that might seem counterproductive, it's just I may have less quantity of it and be content with that because I'm getting something that I'm happy with. And but I just like that's a treat. I'm good. I'm happy with that, and I don't need to have an inordinate amount of it. Just pleased that I can have some of it, and because I guess maybe because I'm who I am and the size that I am, like I can still get away with pretty healthy portions of things sometimes, and and still pull off weight loss. So it's probably not speeding up my weight loss as much as it could, but like it's sustaining, on a week to week basis. It's still happening, and like it's keeping my sanity. So like I'm strategic about the timing of things. Like I really the weekly weigh-in are playing a role, and the weekly check-ins and the weekly meetings with you and the weekly answering to the world. Like this is a big factor for me because I have to be accountable to a large audience. Like what's the number, and like did it go up, did it go down? And that pressure is actually really helpful. It really is. I'm becoming more and more conscious how helpful that is, because like if I have a little bit of relaxation on the weekend and even into Monday or something, even if it's the beginning of the week is stressful, pretty much I'm locked in like the couple days before the weigh-in, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm able to just dial it in and be like unbelievably strict for a couple of days. And so you asked about like the confidence level. I'm becoming dangerously confident that like that I can probably pull some things off that, yeah, like it may get me at some point, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you something that will horrify you.
Really?
Horrify you. Yeah.
Oh, the YouTube loves that. They love horrifying stories because that's what draws the numbers. So please share away. I want to know. Make it as horrifying as possible. We'll clip it and hopefully it'll go viral.
Yeah, this might do it. Monday, I had five king size candy bars. Five
in one day.
So like you probably aren't as familiar as I am with the fat kid, world, but the king size candy bars are basically 2 candy bars in a package. It's like they're like, 2 of those in one.
In other words, the fact that if they tried to make a candy bar that big, it literally couldn't hold it together because of the size. So they had to split it in 2 and put it into and double package it so that way it wouldn't fall apart. I mean, this is the sheer size of that candy bar in one container had to be split into 2. So it's really 2 candy bars. When you say 5, did you have 10?
I mean, in your world, all day it would be called 10. In my world, it's 5 king size. But in your world, it's all the way 10. Candy bars in one day.
You said you were going to tell a horrifying story. Strike that, the king size part. You had 10 candy bars in one day. Technically correct. Am I right? It's 10 candy. I mean, they are full. I mean, they're candy bars. So
10 individual bars. Sure.
Individual size candy bars. You had 10 of those on Monday.
On Monday.
And not even Friday or Saturday or Sunday. It
was Monday. It was Monday.
The weigh-in was Friday today when we're taping this. So we're talking midweek almost. Midweek from weigh-in to weigh-in, about midweek. So what when you
it was a rough day.
10.
I was a little stressed. I was a little stressed in my defense.
You were stressed, but was it also a test? In other words, I know, listen, when you walk into the work week, started Monday, I assume, right?
It did. Yeah.
Okay. So you're walking into the work week, whatever stressed you out, got your attention enough for you to reach for the candy bar. And the candy bar usually, and we've talked about this before, we were talking about a couple of candy bars. So you're on the road, you want something to consume from a convenience store. You feel you can get away with a couple candy bars. Why not? You're killing weight loss. I mean, why? You may as well do it. I mean, that's what's not standing in your way, and it hasn't stood in your way this long. So why not keep it up? Keep going. If you want to have a couple, you can do it. You can make up for it later. But we're talking more than a couple. We're talking. And I'd like to use the number 10, 10 candy bars. So you got into whatever the stressful moment was, and you decided to have a candy bar, and then you decided that the stress wasn't getting any better. I'm going to keep going. Did you plan ahead of time that I'm going to have X amount and you overshot a bit, or you just said, I'm going to have whatever I want to have at this meal. I don't even care. And I'm going to make up for it. I got plenty of time. Everything's cool. I have nothing to worry about. It's only Monday.
So I purchased them in the morning on the way to work with full intention of them lasting 1 per day for the whole entire week. Okay. And then it snowballed quickly.
I see. Yes, it did.
I expected that I was going to do 1 per day, and that was going to be my experiment through the week. A controlled, deal to see how much I could do. Could I do 1 candy bar a day, 2 in your world, in the real world, I guess. And achieve a strong weight loss. That pretty much that was my only carb intake, right? So then just emotion took over that day, and to be honest with you, the candy like does have like an addictive type effect. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like I go in just wanting to tell myself just eat one, and then I don't know. It's just like
Well,
you just want the
if
next one,
if uh if an alcoholic has a beer available, they'll drink the beer. If they are sitting in a bar, they'll they'll drink everything they can possibly find behind the bar and then ask for more. So the fact that you walked into work, which I understand the experiment completely, and I do the same. If I were in your shoes, I'd do the exact same thing. To be honest, I would be seeing how I can negotiate my carbs in the most enjoyable way possible and still lose weight. So I really commend you for that, for what you did going in, having the forethought that I'm going to eat one of these a day. And then when you got into the office and things were getting escalating and you had one, and well, I don't have to stop at one because I've got four left. Or in my world, why stop at two when I got eight left? And before the day is over, I've consumed 10 candy bars. So my question is, if you had only purchased one, what would have happened? Would you have consumed that one, and because nothing else was available at the time, would have went on with your day and had to contend with the stress that you had to contend with anyway? Or would you have made an effort to go and find four more in order to be able to continue this for as long as you could that day? So and what I'm trying to get at, the root is essentially what the question is: did having that readily available, of course, made it easier, and for many people that would be enough to be able to just follow through. Whereas if it were harder and that wasn't available and they only had one, they'd eat the one and then that would be it. So would you have been in that camp, or would you have, because of the stress, do you think that you would have tried to negotiate your way out of that one by doing whatever you can to get more?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I'm afraid that I can't completely tell you an honest answer. I think that there's a part that it's a struggle to tell you. Like it there's a part of me that says that I could, survive, right, with the one or two,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how you
Or
look at it.
four.
Yeah. And then there's a sincere, honest part of me that says if the stress is heavy enough, then I really could revert to dangerous old habits.
Well, let me ask you
I don't want
this.
to mentally go there.
No. Well, let me ask you this question. So we know what you walked into work with. What you had on hand at the time was five king size candy bars. In my world, 10. That you were brought into work and you had planned on eating one of those king size bars per day the rest of the week. And stress was so high that you had all five. So you consumed five because there were five on hand. Why didn't you go out for more?
It's a great question. I
Do you
guess
do you
5
think
was satisfying enough.
were you feeling? I mean, I know full well that if part of the diet was to eat 10 king size candy bars per day, I don't think that you'd be pushing back. I don't think that you would say that that's something that you couldn't handle on a regular basis. In fact, I think that you would be so overjoyed that we wouldn't even have to meet again because it's a foregone conclusion you're going to get to your final destination if that's what it took. So you stopped. I'm trying to gather whether you stopped at five because that's all you had, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you had less, if you would have stopped it less. In other words, is it prudent for you not to have that food on hand for a long period of time. In other words, 5 days worth of candy bars, and
I got you.
instead force yourself each day to bring in your rationed proportion of whatever it is that you plan to do on that day.
Yeah.
So that way, if stress does hit, it's not easy for you to get your hands on more because it's literally right next to you.
That's another great question, man. You're really on. Yeah. So I think that under no circumstances should I need more than 5. Yeah. For 10. I mean, 1 or 2 in your world would be, I mean, like, even under the best of circumstances, that's like, for me, that's like incredible control. So like,
Well, let me ask you this. You had planned to eat one a day.
yeah,
So if you brought 5 king size bars with you, 1 per day for the next 5 days.
I was trying to exert incredible control for a week straight, and that was my intention.
The one trick for anyone that's addicted to anything, whether it's food or alcohol or drugs, is you got to not have it around where you can access it when stress hits. Because when you're lonely, when you're stressed out, things go wrong. If it's there, there's going to be no space between the stress and the action. You're going to just go for it because you don't have to think. At that point in time, there is no leaving in order to acquire it. You don't have to go through that process. So because there's nothing, there's no gap there, you can grab it and consume it. It's very easy at that point then to whatever it is you brought into work that was supposed to last a week is gone in a day because it's there. It's there and readily available. So the test is a good one. It's one to see where the limits are and to see, and you had gone into it with great intentions. You just wanted to test distributing your carbs among the candy bars over a 5-day period, 1 a day, see how that went. Stress hit. They were all there. You didn't have to go anywhere to get any because they were all right there in front of you. You can just consume them all one at a time, one after another, because it is addictive. And emotional eating is exactly that. It becomes a compulsion. It becomes addictive behavior, especially when it's making you feel good in the midst of stress. The stress hits, you have 1 candy bar. Well, the stress is still there when you're done with the 1. So I might as well go to 2. I might as well go to 3, 4, 5. If they're there, you might as well have them. And the only thing that can stop you is hunger or running out of candy bars. And then there's the individual that will then, even though there's a gap, there's a roadblock between them and a 6th and a 7th and an 8th candy bar, will go through the step of acquiring it, of leaving, of getting it and bringing it back. But that takes work. That takes having that extra step in front of you can cause you to pause and say, I don't need any more. So you have to determine what would be the prudent amount to have on hand at one time, so that way that doesn't happen again. You want to have an amount. Certainly, you'd bring in 1. You could say that I could deal with 2 king size candy, but if I have a stressful moment and I eat 2 of them, okay, that's fine. I accept that. But I don't want to do 5 anymore. Right. I don't want to have that many at one time. So I won't have 5 on hand so that it will be more difficult for me to have 5. Doesn't make it impossible. You can still go out and you can get the rest, but it creates that extra hurdle and the time and the effort necessary to follow through with that, where you can prudently decide, I'm just not going to do it. I've had enough. That's fine. The obstacle was enough to stop me. But if they're there, if they're readily available and you can consume them immediately, it is almost a foregone conclusion that it's going to happen. And the willpower game with emotional eating, it's not avoiding the food that's right in front of me so much as it is, don't put myself in situations where it's really easy to act on it when the emotions hit. Because the emotions aren't hitting 24/7, but they hit at certain times. So if you're in scenarios where you know that you might get stressed out, you only want to have available in those places the food that you want to consume during that day. And if it happens to be candy bars, you want to have a limited amount on hand, so that way you don't go overboard or you make it more difficult for yourself to do so. And if you have a rough moment like you did on Monday, you'll have a limited quantity on hand, so maybe you'll stop at that. So if you brought 2 king size candy bars, you would have stopped at 2 versus 5. Obviously, based on the results, nothing I say matters, because you're bringing 5 next time, and it really doesn't make any difference.
No.
This whole conversation is a waste. But
It's not. No,
I
this
want
is
those
good.
numbers to continue. I want that
No.
to continue, and it just makes it more difficult when you got 5 on hand like that, or something like that. You can use any sort of junk food and put it in that category. If you have a whole bag of chips, and that's what it is, that what's one of your weaknesses, you could eat the whole bag of chips because it's there. And when you're stressed, and it's there, and your subconscious mind is just pushing you to keep eating because it's making you feel good, and it's making you forget the stress for that period of time.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to still have a productive week. That was like a day of, like, I didn't know what the future held for that during that day. I'm glad that, like, I was able to just get refocused, and, like, once they were gone, that was the end of the damage that day, So, but, like, I mean, that was pretty. That was like a formidable amount, I'm sure, of damage that day, and, like, compared to anything I've probably done in this entire few months. I think each of those king size deals has 60 grams or so as it of carbs.
Carbs? Really?
So, like, yeah, so like your daily
th-
prescription for me is exceeded by 1 king size. So, yeah,
It's
I mean,
300
like, that's like
grams
a
of carbs.
weekly allowance of
Yeah.
what you wanted me to do in one day. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and, like, and as you describe everything you're talking about with addiction, that totally makes sense. As, like, if it's there, like, in the moment of stress, if it's right there within reach, there's nothing going to stop me. There's nothing going to stop me. And if I have to go to effort, even to drive, a half a mile down the road, it's going to force me to think about it and mentally process, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And this is not going the way you want it to go. This is not doing what you want to do. So think twice, don't do it. And so I agree. Like, I don't need to be stocking up on those again. Like, so, I mean, like, even though this is going to sound like the conversation you've never had with me before again, so don't get freaked out. I'm going to tell you, but, like, this is not for nothing, this conversation.
Oh, I know. I
am
I'm being
learning from this experience, even though I had a productive week. I don't need to stock up on those things like that. So, yeah, I can get a win and learn at the same time.
absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And you went into that, think about it. You went into that with good intentions. You were going to distribute those 60 grams of carbs in those candy bars. If I can have one of these candy bars a day, and I can do it for 5 days, and that's 60 grams of carbs, will that keep me satisfied enough, and then go low carb with everything else? Satisfied enough to continually lose weight, a couple pounds a week, and I can have my candy bar. That's my treat. And I'll just consistently do that for this week and see how it goes. So that was the plan going in. And the only thing that sabotaged it was once you ran into the stress as the catalyst, they happened to be there for the relief. They were waiting for you. all 5, all 10, they were waiting. They were saying, "Look, eat me now," because if you're that stressed out,
So
you might as well just go ahead and keep going because it's feeling really good while we're doing this. And if you stop at one, it's very hard when emotional eating is an issue. It is very hard when it's there, and it's and stress is there as well. When the food and the stress are there at the same time, very difficult to just say, I'm not going to eat that. That the fact that it's there is just it's staring at, it's right within arm's reach, and full well your mind is just pushing you to, if you have that, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel better. You're going to forget about this. It's going to go away for that length of time that you're eating whatever it is that you're eating. And it's hard. It's insurmountable. That's why that's the first step in addiction, is to get away from whatever it is that you're addicted to, and don't make it easy to be able to access it. And in this case, it's you're not eliminating the foods you enjoy. You're just trying to make it more difficult for you to access a large enough quantity of it. So that way, if you get into a difficult situation when it comes to your mentality because of stress, it's not readily available. And that is going to save you more times than not, for sure.
yeah, I need to just moderate, and that's what I've been doing. But yeah, this is really learning experience, and just kind of about addiction in general, and looking at this as addiction more so than ever. I never really, I guess, acknowledged to myself that I'm a food addict, you know. But this is totally what it is. I mean, um, and yeah, so I mean, it's a problem. Like, I don't, if I allow, I mean, stress is a factor in life. It's going to happen. That's just a fact. So, um, I just gotta control how I handle it, and this is just, it's a vice, I guess. And I just got to make sure I put myself in a situation that I can be successful when it comes to managing it. And I got to know my weak area. Like, this is just, it's literally like I am conscious and aware now. Like, if stress is strong enough, like, I literally, it's sad to say this, but like, it's a strong enough thing that, like, if it's strong stress, I'm not gonna, I can, as confident as I am about this weight loss that I'm on, like, that can kick my butt. That can kick my butt. So I really gotta be smart about it and put myself in that situation to prevent it by limiting the amount of ammo I have to damage myself.
Yeah, it's just not having it on hand, because that's really what saves you. The temptation will be there when the stress is there, because you've linked the two. It's been so many decades of using that to be able to counteract stressful moments in life. So it's going to be your natural response to it, and having it on hand is going to make it insurmountable. You're not going to be able to turn away. It's not something that you're just going to be able to look at and say, no. No, I'll just. It's the component of addiction is just that, is that the fact that if I can get my hands on it at the worst possible time, it's 9 times out of 10. I'm gonna take advantage of it. If not 10 times out of 10, take advantage of it because it's there and it makes me feel better. And that's what my mind is really trying to push me to do. But when you create that space, and that's so important, the space is, it's not available. And I am tempted to do it, but I have to go through the extra step of getting my hands on it because it's not there. So that gives you time to think. And thinking is what breaks that cycle. If you have the opportunity to actually sit back and engage your conscious mind and start thinking about, is this is really worth it? Is it worth it for me to do what I'm about to do? Because I know what I'm about to do. I can identify what's happening right now. What's happening right now is I'm stressed and I want to eat in order to feel better for a very temporary period of time. That stress is not going away. It's still going to be there when I'm done, but it does make me feel better temporarily. Now, am I going to go out and do this? Does it make sense based on what I'm trying to accomplish for me to go out and spend 15 minutes, whatever it takes to be able to acquire this and come back and do this, and it'll last 10 minutes. And then that's 10 minutes that I didn't have to be stressed. And I'm right back to being stressed again. Does it make sense? You start to have more of those conversations with you when there's space that you build between the stress and what it is you're trying to counteract it with. But if it's right there, man, it's definitely gonna end up like Monday. It's just gonna be so overpowering the temptation that will push you in that direction that you'll feel like you can't say no. And before you know it, you're not even thinking about it. You're just eating it. It's just happening. It's happening, and there's no conscious mind involved in that. You're just having a great time. And once that train starts moving in that direction, and you have more available on hand, you'll just keep going and going and going. And like you said, when you talk about it, not thinking about this as an addiction and until now, and it's because you never really have put yourself in situations like you have now, where you're actually consciously looking at how can I organize my week to be able to enjoy myself and lose weight. And so this is what you did with the plan that you had with the candy bars. But then you put yourself in a situation where they were available and the stress hit, and you were up against something that you never really took a conscious look at before. And that's, I planned, and you had a plan going in. I planned to have one a day, but I ate all of them.
Mhm.
And before you knew it, it was done. And now looking back at it, you can see the addictive component of it, because that wasn't your plan going in. That's not what I wanted to do. But when I was put in a situation where I had the ability to do it, I did it anyway. And that's what addiction is.
Yep. It's definitely a learning experience. And yeah, I mean, you're bringing to light a lot that I didn't necessarily process on my own either.
Well, this is good, man. You've taken so much out of that just one situation that you shared, which I'm very happy you brought it up. And these are the things that I want you to share when they happen, because it does present an opportunity for you to discuss it and learn from it, but also for other people to hear, because they're going through the same thing. Anybody that's trying to lose weight will relate to what you just the same story you told has happened to them dozens of times. It's not something that anybody who's had a problem with losing weight and emotional eating has never experienced, because they experience it all the time. That's the reason why they're having a difficult time losing weight. The plan goes into, I'm going to do this or that to lose weight, and then you get hijacked by wanting to eat the foods that make you feel better. And you're trying to accomplish this in a good way, because you're not trying to rob yourself of everything that you enjoy eating. You're trying to integrate it in the best way possible, so that way you can still consume those foods and continue to lose weight. And we went down this path once before, where you had convinced me, where I think I made a suggestion about maybe 15 years ago on one of your visits, that if you'll start your diet, I will allow you, if you could start your diet and stay strict on something of a diet, whatever it is we can come up with that you'll agree to follow, I will ship whoopie pies across state lines. I don't even know if that's legal, from where I live to where you live, and you can have one a day. And this was essentially the king size candy bar experiment. By allowing you to have that one whoopie pie a day, it was going to change your entire life, because you could look forward to that, and maybe that would compel you to stay on the rest of the diet. But I think I sent you the whoopie pies, and unfortunately, being shipped from my place to your place, the integrity of the whoopie pie did not sustain itself. So it did not remain in the, let's say, the type of quality that you had experienced from a fresh whoopie pie. So your interest, actually, believe it or not, was very low then in the offer that I'd made to you, because of the quality of the shipped material. So that sort of went by the wayside, and you didn't lose weight on that.
But you are motivating me to make a visit soon.
Yes.
I think I need to come see you and partake in a fresh whoopie pie. That sounds amazing. Bring right now.
But only bring one to work with you at a time.
One at a time. One at a time. That could be disastrous.
That's the only requirement. Yeah, it would be disastrous, because those are delectable. I can tell you, we have polished off more than one at a time.
What do you think that
many
the
things.
carb value is for one whoopie pie? I mean, that's a
I've
straight
never
up
dared
carb
look.
right there.
I have never dared look because I don't want to know.
That's
I
just pure
legitimately
carb.
don't even want to arm myself with that knowledge because
That is
I don't consume them
100%
often.
carbohydrate, right?
And fat. There's got to be some fat in there somewhere. It's
so
so
amazing.
good. It's got to be, but they are no protein. I can assure you of that. Very low. But it's got fat and carbs in abundance. Mostly carbs.
It's so heavenly.
The icing, the cake on both sides, it's incredible. It is appropriately named. Believe me. If you've never had one, anybody who's watching, I know you're probably watching in order to try and burn some fat. So this is not necessarily the conversation you tuned in for.
It's a cheap day special.
You achieve your goal. But I can assure you, when you do loosen up on that diet for a meal, search out whoopie pies. They sell them. I don't know if there's a lot of areas they don't sell them in, but they definitely sell them here. And I can get as many as I want, anytime I want, and they're absolutely delicious and very addictive. I must say, I have a hard time once I start. It's very difficult to stop at just one, so we never do. Yeah. And that's the reason why. Just the idea of having me ship these to you fresh from here. It was worth a try. I mean, the reason I suggested it because I figured if you could look forward to something like that every day and still lose weight, I mean, this is going to be the key to keeping you happy because I got to keep this guy happy somehow. And ultimately, in the end, I mean, this was many years ago that this experiment was unsuccessfully conducted. But in the end, what has worked is us being able to meet here every week combined with the latitude for you to do essentially the same thing. You're working in your candy bars, you're working in foods that you enjoy into the diet in ways that will allow you to still look forward to the foods that you were consuming when you were 354 pounds. But since you also now have the goal of losing weight, you're able to judiciously use those foods, other than Monday, judiciously use those foods in such a way that's going to allow you to get to the goal. And you have been masterful at this. I'm going to tell you, it's been 3 months. This has not been 3 days. It has not been 3 weeks. It's been 3 months of consistent weight loss would you classify this as a strict diet?
No. I'm really gaining confidence as time goes on. I'm not suggesting that I'm going to intentionally inhale 10 candy bars next week on any given day, but I think this is just it's just a mind shift and just being smart and, and just thinking things out a little bit more. But now it's like, I'm just thinking differently. And I've just, I guess, been trained to think differently than I've ever thought before in nearly 50 years. It's crazy. Like, if I can do this, anybody can do it. I'm going to say that probably for the rest of the time. Like, I never would have thought that I was capable of literally adopting this mindset. And it was like, 2 months in when I was starting this, really feel this change. And like, I'm like, even when I indulge, I'm doing so in a different way. And it's just, I'm enjoying more. And it's like, when these treats are more special, when I have them, it's more, I appreciate it more. And this is what healthy people do. I'm certain of that, And so this is just, I'm doing things more often the way it just should be. And, and like the numbers are reflecting it. I'm so excited to see that 3 gone on the scale forever. And like, it's so encouraging, man. Like, I'm pumped to see where this, how long it takes me to get to the 3-1, man. 3-1.
Gosh, I can assure you one thing, we've got 3 at 328. Assuming next week, which is the week before Christmas, or the week it's next week will be next time we record, it'll be a few days before Christmas. So the following week will be Christmas. And so the next time we meet, which will be the Friday before Christmas, I think you will, based on your own routine that you described to me at 328.3, I think you're probably going to want to solidify the 320s as best you can this week in preparation for the Christmas celebration. So that's I'm looking at that 320s to be solid next week, so that way you have a little bit of latitude going into Christmas, if that makes any sense to you.
I like your pep talk, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
If you could accomplish that and get into the, this is what you did last time. You got into the 330s. You got 340.2 to 338. So you were actually even lower than you were now in terms of going. You're 328.3. You were 338, and the next week you went to 335.3. That was the week that you went a little bit insane, using your terminology, in order to get as much weight into that mid. You didn't want to get back to the 340s ever again. So you did what you could to get that down. So you just want to be solidly in the 320s so you can have some fun on that Christmas week, because I'm sure you want to.
I do.
Am I right or wrong about that?
Fun also, would be amazing.
I think I'm not going to stand in your way of that happening either, because we're very much on making this as realistic as possible. And when it comes to special occasions and holidays, fun is the name of the game. There's no reason for you to miss out. Obviously, in the moderated fashion that you have pursued Thanksgiving with, but it's an open field. You choose what you want to eat, and you enjoy yourself during those times. That's what has to happen.
It's amazing. I'm actually having fun. And the stress moments, the extreme stress moments, are the outliers, thankfully.
Yeah.
And I really need to find ways to minimize those. If I could just become independently wealthy, that would probably go a long way.
That certainly would help. Yes.
But, just the fun, part of the fun is the weight loss ride. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
even passing up thing is actually not all that hard. When I realized that, okay, I can deal without that this time, because I'm gonna step on the scale in a few days and it's gonna be awesome. You know what I'm saying? It's there's a balance. I'm more of a balance when it comes to the whole relationship between food and weight and the mental aspect, all of this stuff. There's more of a balance than ever before in my whole perception of all of it, my whole approach.
Now you notice
very excited about that.
Yeah, so am I. When you were talking about, should I consume this? Does it make sense? I've got a weigh-in coming up. Does it make sense for me to eat this? Do I have to have that? Yes, I know I'm going to have this and that because I love it. But do I have to have those items? Not a big, not important enough for me. It's more important for me to keep moving forward. But I'm going to have that and that because I really love that those desserts or whatever it is that you choose to have. But you made judicious choices, and think about the process that you used. You paused, you thought about it, and you decided, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to do. And you did that with food all over the place. You literally could have eaten everything in sight, literally, and you didn't because you chose not to. The difference between that and what happened on Monday, no stress.
Right.
You were able to make those choices, and you were able to do so in a lucid fashion. You were able to just think it over and decide, because there was nothing you were trying to escape from. You were actually focused on the goal. I want to have a good time, but at the same time, I also don't want to disrupt my weight loss to any great degree. So you made prudent decisions. But when the stress hits, it's just get me out of here. Yep. Escape, 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 escape. And when you have that escape hatch of 5 candy bars on hand, you consume that. So that's the difference in being able to make that prudent decision, and not having that on hand not being able to grab 5 at a time puts you in a situation where you might be able to make those same kind of conversations happen in your head, like occurred at the Thanksgiving table, where you're, because there's a distance between the stress and getting whatever it is you need to try and counteract it. You might be able to talk yourself out of it, which is, that's what we're trying to achieve, is more of those moments during times of stress where you create space between the stress and being able to act on something to try and counteract it and for a temporary period. And that's the whole goal there, because you've proven you can have the conversations when the stress is not staring you in the face in the midst of food. You can have the conversations with food in front of you, which is just, on Thanksgiving, it's just massive, the amount of food available. And you decided that you were going to eat a very judicious amount, less, just better than ever before, than any Thanksgiving in history, in your history, and maybe in history, if anyone's history, and just making really prudent
Not
decisions.
anyone.
No, okay, you didn't go that far. I think, yeah, I'm pushing it now. but but knowing what you've accomplished in the past and comparing it to what you did this past Thanksgiving, it was nothing short of a miracle. If you looked at it on paper, but it was simply because you decided that the goal of weight loss is now important to me. And I have a lot riding on this. I want to make this happen. I'm showing up every week. We're talking about it. And you want to achieve this goal because you're getting motivated. As the weeks go by, you get more motivated and more motivated. And you, here you were, being able to decide, I can balance this. I can have fun, but I just don't have to go overboard. And that's what you did at Thanksgiving. You made those choices on your own. And I just commend you so much for that.
Well,
The other thing is, I need to ask you, 5 candy bars on Monday. If this were the old Jeff, okay, the Jeff that said, put me on a diet and we're not talking about it, I'm just putting you on a diet or whatever, I'm just going out on your own and not talking to me about it on a weekly basis, not meeting up like we have been for 3 months. And you started your diet, 5 candy bars later. Does it end, or does it derail you completely? Mentally, emotionally, do you decide that having those 5 candy bars in the past Jeff, if he had those 5 candy bars and ruined the diet, would he have ruined the diet?
100% old Jeff is all the way off the rails.
Yeah.
After the 5
Right.
candy bar day, what would happen is I would jump on the scale the next morning. I would see some stupid number and
Yep.
I would lose my ever loving, and then
That's the truth.
and then I would just, like, I don't even know what, I would spiral all the way out of control. And I mean, you've seen it. So, I mean, like,
Oh, I've seen it firsthand. These
Yeah.
truer words have never been spoken, people.
like I don't think, without all that we're doing right now and all the work, honestly, you've been doing with me to get me whole mentally and emotionally, like, that I could, to get to the frame of mind that I'm in, the healthy frame of mind that I'm in, like, there's no way I would have the strength that's required to just be like, okay, you get back up and, you just brush it off and today's a new day and you're back on it. Like, that was just a hiccup. But I mean, like, the whole trend is one direction, and that was just one bump. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
the trend
100%.
is just, everything is moving one direction, and then there's going to be little bumps here and there, but, like, everything is just boom. It's all going that one way. And, like, there's nothing going to stop that train, dude. It's going that way. That's it. Like, that's non-negotiable.
I've spent 30 years. If you want to know how much progress we've made, I've spent 30 years trying to get Jeff to only weigh himself once a week when he's trying to lose weight. And the only time that I could get him to reduce the frequency of weigh-ins is when he's not on a diet at all because he doesn't weigh himself. He doesn't want to know how much he weighs. But when he's on a diet, very difficult to get him to stick to once a week. And we went on a trip to California, 2005. The man was destined, determined to continue to just loosen up the diet as much as he could, and but do his walks or runs and jogs. And he just pulled out all the stops to try and find a place, um, abandoned school, prison yard, wherever it took that he could jog around something. He didn't care. He didn't care how dangerous. He didn't care how much effort it took to get
God,
there.
that was a former life right there, man.
He tried to jog his most, and he was weighing. He was probably weighing the 260s, 270s at the time, and he was making a sincere effort to hopefully by the time he comes home from his trip, keep the weight as low as possible because he wanted to convince himself that he could have pretty much a free diet, free reign on a diet, as long as he did his exercise, that everything would stabilize. He'd go away and everything, when he comes back, he can be in a great mood. Well, he decided to, I told him not to step on the scale until a certain amount of time passed by. Once he got back to what normal diet plan, I don't want him to just come home and just step on the scale. I don't want that to be an automatic reflex. I want him to give him a little bit of time to recoup himself. And if there was any damage done, it should go away rather quickly. Just let's not get hasty here and just step on the scale the moment we land the plane. Well, guess what? He didn't step on the moment we landed the plane, but the moment he got home, okay, he was able to survive because he didn't have a scale. That's the only reason why he wasn't able to weigh himself there in the airport. He got home, he stepped on the scale, all hell broke loose.
Bad
man completely lost his ever-loving mind because the number that he saw on that scale was more than the number he wanted it to be. And the man was derailed for possibly ever up until this point now, after that moment.
Yeah, I don't think I ever recovered until,
I think that was the huge transition that got you back from the 270s where you were hovering in that 260, 270 range, back up to 280, 290 and beyond. It was just... you couldn't recover from that moment because it was so demoralizing, and not because you should not have expected, given the fact that you go away on vacation, you're going to have a great time for a couple of weeks. There's really no moderation that was taking place. It was just, can I do some exercise to counteract it? And that way I can go away and just eat whatever I want if I just do the exercise. It was an experiment. And I don't fault the experiment at all, but stepping on the scale the moment you come back from like a 2-week Thanksgiving is probably not the greatest move in the entire world. I tried to push back against it, but it wasn't happening. But this Jeff, this is the 20 years ago, Jeff. This Jeff now, every week he's weighed in. He's weighing in every week. He's stepping on the scale, not knowing what it says. He had his 5 candy bars. He didn't step on the scale right when he was done. He could have.
I knew better.
One and done it.
No.
But he didn't do it. He didn't do it. This is a man of just the proportions that you've changed in every respect from what I've known you to be to what you are now is just phenomenal. And I just congratulate you so much for all the steps that you've taken and you continue to take each and every week. It's just impressing me to no end.
Thank you so much. You're a huge, huge, huge blessing in my life. You know this already. I'll never stop telling you. And it doesn't happen without a brother like you that has sincere love for me and that also has wisdom, knowledge, and just cares, So I appreciate every role you play in my life, dude. And thank you for just supporting me all the way through. I know I'm going to get where I want to be. I'm already making a lot of progress, and I'm just driven. I know it's happening. I feel it happening. I see it happening. I'm like, it's happening, dude. I'm so excited. I'm done with the 330s, dude. I'm done. That number, I have not gotten under that. No, I've not been under that number in at least 5 years, and it's probably been closer to 10. Like, It's unreal. Unreal. Yeah. I mean, so like basically every pound from here on out is like a huge deal, man. It's a huge deal. Every pound from here on out is a huge deal. So
Every
that was a big
pound
one.
is a huge deal. Absolutely, it is a big one, and I'm here to celebrate with you because that's an awesome, awesome achievement. 26.3 pounds down in 3 months. An emotional eater that started 354.6 pounds. Incredible results, consistent weight loss every single week. Lost an average of 1.8 pounds a week, discounting the first week, which was bigger than usual loss because of the water weight. But it's incredible. You're almost at 2 pounds a week of average weight loss, and every week you've lost weight. You're just you're not phoning it in, man. You're doing what you have to do to make this happen, and I just love receiving that scale picture every single week because it just shows that this man is serious about getting this done. He's doing what he has to do, and he's making it realistic, something he can enjoy. He can enjoy the whole path towards achieving his weight loss goal. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be insurmountable. It doesn't have to make you not want to wake up in the morning because it's just so the drudgery of having to eat a very bland diet. He is eating foods that he enjoys, and he is doing it in the right way, and he's achieving results every week. And I give you all the credit in the world, man, because I know emotional eating is difficult, and you have just literally for 3 months, man, you've shown that it's possible to get it under control if you got a support system, if you got people to love you and guide you and stand by you and celebrate with you, and if you have the will to get it done. And you got it all going on right now, man. I give you all the credit for that, and I can't wait to see you next week, man.
Love you, brother. Thank you so much.
Love you, brother. Can you hear me?
I got you.
You are sideways from what I can tell. There you go. Okay, let's do it that way. You did it. 328. Dude, you don't know, man, how happy I was to see that number, man. Like it made my heart skip a beat. This is you at your finest. There's nothing finer than a fine-tuned Jeff, dude. Jeff cannot be stopped, dude.
Might be going sideways again.
I think in order to prevent people from getting car sick, I think we probably should have you right side up. That's good. No. No. This is a serious matter. Okay? Stop joking around.